Joining me now to discuss the latest on President Trump's tariffs, economic agenda, and much more is Democratic Congressman Khanna of California. He represents Silicon Valley and is the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Congressman, thanks so much for your time. I think what's interesting in this moment, as we've seen, I think in the last 5 minutes, another half dozen letters have come out to various countries around the world, all of which the president is looking at on a map, according to the press secretary. What's interesting to me, what you just heard from the press secretary is an effective political message. When you were out in the campaign trail in 2024 or in past iterations, you heard that message resonate with voters. What did Democrats say to combat that?
What you heard is people wanted tariffs on China. They didn't want our steel going there. They felt China had taken a lot of our jobs when China became part of the World Trade Organization. But what makes little sense to many folks is why he's going after our allies, Japan and South Korea, and then cutting a deal with China. I mean, the reality is a lot of the jobs went to China. The reality is that China is threatening Taiwan, and that we should be allied with Europe, Japan, South Korea, and really being tough on China.
I'm always intrigued, when we've talked about it on the panel, I'm always intrigued by traders who have very clearly convinced themselves on Wall Street that he doesn't mean any of this, right? The 25% or the 40% or anything like that, whether July 9th or August 1st, it ain't happening. You agree with that?
Who knows? I mean, I think anyone who can tell you they can predict Donald Trump is probably naive. I certainly haven't been able to predict a lot of things over the last 10 years. And the reality is I would have never predicted that he's going to single out Japan and South Korea. Look, from George Bush on, there was a consensus in this country that we want to build an alliance with India, with Japan, with South Korea to contain China. And by the way, the bipartisan China committee in the House has been doing that work under Mike Gallagher's leadership and now under John Molinar's leadership. And so from a strategic perspective, I don't see how this serves American interests to flip it, where you're basically saying, OK, I'm going to go talk to Xi Jinping and cut a deal there, but be tough on our allies.
I want to ask you, you've weighed in before in the past on Elon Musk. I think whatever the current iteration of the divorce is, I think you told us before last month, quote, having Elon Musk speak out against the irrational tariff policy, against the deficit exploding Trump bill, and the anti-science and anti-immigrant agenda can help check Trump's unconstitutional administration. I look forward to Elon turning his fire against MAGA Republicans instead of Democrats in 2026. That was before Musk, I think, announced he was starting a new party right now. What's your sense of kind of what that party may be and whether or not you want to reach out to him and try and bring him into your fold?
Well, I think that it's going to be one that disagrees with a lot of what Trump's doing, as I pointed out in that quote. I mean, Elon does not support some of the draconian tariffs. He does not support the repeal of the renewable energy tax credits. He does not support the ban on international students. He was one of them. Now, Elon and I have very profound differences, so I don't think he's going to fit into the Democratic Party, but it's much better that we're now going to see his tweets with 200 million users pointing out the flaws with Donald Trump than what he did during the 2024 election, when he used his entire platform to hit Vice President Harris and Democratic candidates.
Congressman, stay with me. I want to bring in the panel on this and can all kind of go back and forth on this, because I think Jeff Zeleny, the congressman, makes a really interesting point of the wallet obviously being something we had never seen before at that scale from a single individual. How's the White House thinking about what that may mean going forward?
Look, I think the White House is wondering if Elon Musk is going to keep this up or sort of move on to other things. I mean, the idea of forming a third party is annoying to the president. We saw that he talked about that yesterday. It's not necessarily a political threat to him. Perhaps it's better for him to start a third party than to become engaged with the opponents to Republicans, like Democrats, or finding people who are actually concerned about the debt and deficit. But I think it makes them wonder if the separation actually between the president and Elon Musk continues, sort of what could come next. But I don't know that they give him that much thought anymore. I mean, the reality here is that Elon Musk was very helpful of getting the president elected. Would the president have got elected without him? Probably. Would it have been more difficult in Pennsylvania? Probably so. But I think going forward here, it's just the open wild card. Is Musk really going to be serious about this? Politics hasn't been good for his business. So there's a lot of skepticism, I think, about what the level of seriousness he actually is, if he's going to put his money where his mouth is, and what's the market for this third party.
Congressman, Jeff makes a really good point. This has been really bad for Tesla. And not just in the stock sense. I think when you talk to investors, when you talk to street participants, they're looking at the company and looking at the potential threats that the president's levying right now and saying this might not end anytime soon. Do you think that this has turned people from your district off about engaging at a high level in politics?
I think it's been sobering. Look, I said to Elon, you didn't take my advice, stick to cars and Mars. Politics is tough, and you're going to see your popularity decline very fast. But I think that we underestimate the role he played in Trump's election. Could Trump have won anyway? Possibly, but he used his entire platform, and he had all of these folks in the tech world who have a lot of sway with particularly young men go all in for Donald Trump. He gave a permission structure to a lot of business leaders, technology leaders, and he was really dedicated to Pennsylvania in particular. So I think the biggest loss here for Trump and the Republicans is just his no longer being on the bandwagon. They're not going to have his support, his platform, his money, his cultural influence in 26 or 28. And that is good news for the Democrats.
Congressman, I want to ask you about the really the cornerstone of the president's economic agenda that he signed into law. When you talk to Democrats, they say I can write you a 200 bullet point list of all the things we can attack on within this legislation. That also makes it difficult for Democrats to coalesce around a single message that would be effective when it comes to going at the bill. How are you thinking about it going forward?
Is betraying the working class and the heartland of this country to give tax breaks to the billionaires in California. For all the rhetoric of the Republicans disliking California, California billionaires and the billionaires in Silicon Valley are going to do really well based on this bill. They're getting tax breaks. They're getting accelerated depreciation. You know who's getting hurt? A lot of Trump voters in rural America, with hospitals closing, with Medicaid being cut. And I think, as a lot of conservatives have pointed out, that this is actually a betrayal of his base. The Republicans haven't figured out that they actually did win a lot of working class voters. And my view is that's what's going to ultimately hurt them.
So you're not going with FMAP. That's good. It's good to identify. Actually, I'd ask the same question for you. I know it can be frustrating sometimes in the Democratic kind of sphere of how lawmakers decide how to message and what to message on these issues where there are a lot of targets.
Costs. Costs are not going to go down. Costs are going to go up for your groceries, for your health care. And I would make it all about affordability, the cost of living. The Democrats tried to do that in 2024. They didn't do it successfully. There's an opportunity in 26 to make that be the narrative that would get some of those working class voters back, would re-solidify our base that we kind of hemorrhaged some folks or they just didn't show up. It's all about the economy and costs.
Congressman, I know you agree on that. I really appreciate your time, Congressman Ro Khanna. Thanks so much.